My name is Nathan Cole. I'm 51 years old, and for the past 23 years, I've worked as a contract strategist for commercial real estate developments, mostly based out of Savannah, Georgia. My job has always been about details, finding the clause others overlooked, anticipating loopholes, protecting investments before someone even knows they're at risk. But none of that prepared me for what happened on a quiet Tuesday night in Lisbon, nearly 6,000 miles from home. That's when my wife Sierra told me over the phone that our marriage was over. "I'm divorcing you," she said casually. "And I've already sold the Tybee Island house. Logan and I are moving in together." She laughed as she said it, and that laughter stayed in my ears longer than the words ever did. Logan Pierce, her trainer. A 35-year-old with gym selfies, a leased Mercedes, and no sense of discretion. I should have seen it coming. I suppose deep down, I did. The signs were subtle at first. Less interest in my work. Fewer shared dinners. Sudden trips with new friends I'd never met. Gym sessions that went from 3 days a week to 5, then 7. I didn't confront her. I didn't hire investigators or demand explanations. Instead, I started paying attention. And then, I started preparing. What Sierra didn't know is that I'd moved the deed to our Tybee Island beach house into a revocable living trust last year. It was tucked among refinancing documents she'd signed, distractedly more concerned with her phone than the paperwork in front of her. "This is just for loan coverage," I had said. "A small layer of protection for our assets." And she signed, without reading. That house wasn't just real estate. It was where we'd celebrated our 10-year anniversary. Where I'd carried her over the threshold barefoot with sand on our clothes. It was our supposed forever place. But to her, it had become a stepping stone. To Logan. To something newer. Something trendier. When she said, "The buyer moves in next week," it was meant to break me. But it didn't. Because she never had the legal right to sell it. After the call, I didn't panic. I didn't curse or beg. I opened my laptop and sent 2 emails. One to Tina Harland, my title agent. The other to Mark DeWitt, my attorney since before Sierra ever entered my life. Subject line: urgent, fraudulent property transaction. I attached copies of the trust paperwork, scanned in a hotel room across from a rainy Lisbon plaza. Then I sat back and waited. I met Sierra 16 years ago at a developers conference in Atlanta. She was working for a boutique interior design firm specializing in luxury spaces. Charming, ambitious, quick with a joke, and beautiful in a way that made you forget to ask deeper questions. We married 9 months later. She moved into my townhome. Then 2 years later, we bought the Tybee house together. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, ocean view deck, $1.35 million purchase. I paid the down payment. She decorated the walls. Back then, I believed we were building something real. But over time, things shifted. She quit her firm to go solo, said she wanted freedom, creativity, control. At first, I encouraged her. But then came the pattern. Design retreats in the mountains. Late-night planning sessions with clients whose names never appeared in her contracts. Expenses on our joint card that didn't match the story she was selling me. Then came Logan. At first, it was small things. His name in her texts casually mentioned gym anecdotes. Then I saw the charge for the Savannah Westin Spa. 2 people. 1 room. 1 weekend when I was out closing a deal in Tampa. I didn't need a private investigator. I needed a strategy. 11 months ago, I moved the Tybee property into the Nathan Cole Revocable Trust. Sole trustee me. The paperwork was signed, notarized, and filed with the county under normal refinancing records. Sierra never read a word of it. "Why so much paperwork?" she asked, pen in hand. "You know I trust you." I smiled and said nothing. Back in Savannah, Mark confirmed my next steps. "She can't sell what she doesn't own," he said. "And the buyers, if there are any, will be notified immediately. This entire sale is void." Tina confirmed the deed status. The county flagged any activity related to the property. Mark added, "She's made a critical mistake, but we're not filing anything yet. Let's give her the chance to try digging her own hole deeper." I agreed. Not out of malice, but because clarity often comes with time. I flew back 2 days early. Didn't tell her. Just drove the familiar coastal road from Savannah to Tybee. Pulled into the driveway just after 3 p.m. and saw a black Mercedes coupe parked in my spot. Logan's. The front door was slightly open. I heard her voice. And his. They were laughing. I walked in suitcase in hand. They stood in the kitchen. She wore a flowing dress I'd never seen before. He wore gym shorts, barefoot, smug. They both froze. Nathan, Sierra said, startled but composed. "You're back early." I nodded. Clearly. Logan stepped back, trying to make himself small. I'll give you two a moment." "No," I said. "Stay. This is for both of you." I opened my briefcase, pulled out a copy of the trust, placed it on the counter. "The house isn't yours to sell, Sierra. It hasn't been for almost a year." She blinked. "What are you talking about?" "This property was transferred to a trust. Legally. Signed by you. Last spring." She grabbed the paper, her eyes scanned it, then narrowed. "You tricked me." "No, you just didn't read what you signed." Logan looked like he'd seen a ghost. "You told me the sale was done." She said nothing. Because it wasn't. Because she didn't even understand how badly she'd overplayed her hand. The kitchen felt smaller than it ever had. Sierra held the trust paperwork like it was a betrayal. Logan stood stiffly by the fridge, visibly shrinking. She broke the silence. "You manipulated me." I looked at her, calm, unmoved. "You gave up the right to be surprised when you tried to sell a house behind my back." She scoffed, tossing the papers on the counter. It was going to be clean. Civil. "You could have kept part of the proceeds." "You mean the proceeds from a property you don't own?" I turned to Logan. "You were in on this." He hesitated. "She said it was hers. I didn't ask to see paperwork." "Then you're not just a liar," I said evenly. "You're a fool." He grabbed his keys and muttered something about needing to go. The door closed behind him. Sierra didn't move. I placed a second document on this counter. "These are your withdrawals from our joint account. Over $190,000 in the past year." She blinked fast. "That money is mine too. Which is why I haven't frozen it yet." She crossed her arms. "You don't want this to get ugly, Nathan," Sierra Flynn said slowly. "You sold a house that wasn't yours. You used our savings to bankroll a fitness studio in Asheville. You funneled funds through an account in your name only. And you used a shell company tied to Logan's brother to try and hide the transaction." Her face paled. "I didn't think you'd find out." "I always find out," I said. "It's what I do." That evening, I met with Mark DeWitt at his office. He had already pulled transaction histories, digital footprints, and business records. The LLC used in the fake sale, he said, tied directly to Troy Pierce, Logan's older brother. He slid the folder across the desk. Their plan was clear: acquire the house below market value, flip it under a new name, and use the equity to fund their expansion. He looked up. "They weren't just leaving you. They were trying to erase you." I nodded. "What do we do now?" Mark leaned back. "You have two paths. Option 1. Formal lawsuit for fraudulent sale, breach of marital trust, and misappropriation. Option 2. Offer her a clean break contingent on full restitution and property rights transfer." "You want my opinion?" he added. "Option 2 is faster, and it still puts you in control." That night I sat in the beach house alone. The windows were open. The sound of the ocean drifted in. I stood in the middle of the living room and said it aloud just once. "You tried to steal what I built." There was no anger in it, just confirmation. The next day, Tina Harland, my title agent, called. "Just wanted you to know," she said. "We've flagged every file tied to the Tybee property. No bank or buyer will touch it now, even if she tries again." I thanked her, hung up, then opened my laptop and emailed Mark. "Prepare the settlement. She has 72 hours. 2 hours later, I got a call, unknown number. I answered. It was Sierra's voice, low, cold. "So that's it. You're just going to act like none of it meant anything." I didn't answer. "You always were the calculating one," she continued. "I wanted a life, something better. Logan gave me that." "No," I said finally, "I gave you that. Logan gave you attention." "That's not the same thing." She exhaled sharply. "We could still work something out. You don't have to do this through lawyers." "You're right," I said, "but I want to." And I hung up. The next morning, Mark sent over the draft. Sierra returns $110,000 of the withdrawn funds. She relinquishes all claim to the Tybee property and the trust. I waive rights to her Asheville venture. And no criminal charges are filed. Simple, cold, complete. I forwarded it to her with a 2-word message: "Take it." That evening, I walked the beach alone. My feet sunk into the cold sand. Waves nipped at my ankles. I remembered how Sierra once told me she hated this walk. Too damp. Too long, too quiet. I used to change my pace for her. Now I walked at my own speed. The following day, her attorney, some young upstart with too much cologne, called Mark. She's insulted by the offer. Mark laughed. Then she'll really hate the lawsuit we're preparing. By evening, Sierra responded. Fine, I'll take the deal. But I want a clause saying we never discuss this again publicly. I agreed. Because I didn't need to talk. The facts already spoke for themselves. 2 nights later, I got a text from Clara, my niece. Mom told me what happened. Just wanted you to know I see you. And I'm proud of how you handled it. It hit me harder than I expected. Sometimes the most powerful recognition doesn't come from the people we fight. It comes from the ones who watched us walk away instead. The documents were signed 2 days later. Sierra came into Mark's office with her lawyer. Hair perfect, lips pressed into a line. She didn't look at me. She didn't speak. She just signed the agreement like she was authorizing the return of a rental car, not closing out 14 years of marriage. When it was done, her attorney extended a hand. Clean break. Civil. Professional. I shook it. Because I wasn't here to punish, only to protect. Sierra stood, gathered her purse, and paused at the door. You'll regret this. Not a threat, more like a prophecy from someone who believed she was owed more. I already did, I replied. She left, quietly. And just like that, the war was over. Or so I thought. For 3 days, things were quiet. The house felt like mine again. The ocean breeze returned without tension. Even the smallest tasks, changing passwords, reprogramming the thermostat, felt like rituals of reclamation. Then on Friday, I got a call from Tina Harland. Nathan, just a heads up. Someone from a local paper called asking questions about the house transfer. I blinked. What kind of questions? About whether it was legal, whether there were allegations of financial manipulation. Said they'd received an anonymous tip. Sierra. There was no doubt. When she couldn't take the property, she went after my reputation. That same afternoon, I got an email from the Savannah Tribune. A reporter wanted a comment on potential misuse of legal loopholes in property ownership transfers during a contested divorce. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to Mark. Within the hour, he replied, Don't say a word, I'll handle it. That evening, I sat on the deck and tried to shake the feeling, but I couldn't. Because this wasn't just about a property anymore. It was about my name, my integrity. And Sierra knew that's where I'd feel it most. The next morning, Clara called me. She sounded nervous. Uncle Nate, I saw a post on Facebook. One of Mom's friends saying you used hidden trust to cheat her out of what she deserved. I closed my eyes. It's okay, I said. It'll blow over. No, it's not okay, she said. You didn't deserve that. I didn't cry, but I felt something tighten in my chest. Sometimes it's not the accusations that hurt. It's that someone you trusted wanted to damage you more than they wanted to move on. By Monday, Mark had traced the source. Sierra had sent emails to 3 journalists and 2 community Facebook group moderators. She claimed I had tricked her with paperwork, stole the house, and weaponized his legal connections to manipulate the divorce. She's being careful, Mark said. No direct libel. But the implications are clear. She's trying to discredit you without risking a lawsuit. Then let's change the risk, I replied. Mark drafted a cease and desist letter with clear language. We have documented evidence of Sierra's intent to sell property she didn't own. We have transaction records and legal filings confirming the trust. We are prepared to escalate to a defamation suit if falsehoods continue spreading. It was sent via certified mail and email. She didn't respond. But the post stopped. The next day, Logan showed up at the house. I was trimming the hedges when I saw him pull into the driveway in that same black coupe. He stepped out, hands raised. I'm not here to fight, just talk. I didn't say a word, just waited. She's losing it, man, he said, posting all kinds of stuff. Talking about hiring a PI to dig into your finances. Still, I said nothing. I didn't know she was going to take it this far. But you were okay with helping her steal my house. He looked down. I just believed what she told me. Then you're not just guilty, I said. You're complicit. He nodded once. She's not who I thought she was. She never was, I replied. You just didn't ask the right questions. He got back in the car. And this time, I knew it was the last time I'd ever see him. That night, I took out the old journals. Not Sierra's, mine. I found the page where I'd written a line months earlier when I first moved the property to a trust. You can't stop betrayal, but you can prepare for its aftermath. I underlined it. Twice. By the end of the week, Mark confirmed the gossip had stopped. No more blog inquiries. No more reporters. No more veiled accusations. Sierra had gone quiet. Whether out of shame or strategy, I didn't know. And I didn't care. Because the storm had passed. And I was still standing. That weekend, I hosted a few friends for dinner. People I hadn't seen in months. One of them, Daniel, pulled me aside after dessert. "You look lighter," he said, "like you finally exhaled." I smiled. Maybe because I finally realized you don't win by proving them wrong. You win by refusing to let them define you. Later that night, I sat on the deck with a glass of bourbon. The moonlight danced across the ocean, and I thought, she tried to destroy what I built. But in the end, she only taught me how to protect it better. 2 months passed. No more calls, no letters, no sightings. The dust had settled, and Sierra's silence told me what I needed to know. She had lost the house, lost the money, and finally, lost control. I spent my mornings on the deck with black coffee and the ocean air. My evenings walking barefoot in the sand. For the first time in years, my thoughts weren't circling threats. They were quiet. I repainted the living room, replaced the cracked bathroom tiles, rebuilt the front steps by hand just to feel the weight of something solid beneath me. Every repair, every tool in my grip was a small act of restoration, not just of the house, but of myself. I started reading again. Real books, not contracts. Started journaling, not to vent, just to make sense of things. In one entry I wrote, "You don't always see betrayal coming, but sometimes what saves you is the part of you that never trusted easily in the first place." One morning, I received a call from Tina Harland, my title agent. "You still looking at investments?" she asked. "I've got something you might like." She told me about a small commercial property on the edge of downtown Savannah. 3 tenants, low turnover, good bones. I visited the site that afternoon. It wasn't flashy, not beachfront, not dramatic, but it was reliable. And that, I'd learned, was more valuable than excitement. I signed the offer within 72 hours. Put it under the same trust. Some lessons you only need to learn once. The following week, I got lunch with Daniel, an old friend. We sat by the pier watching the boats come in. "You ever think about dating again?" he asked casually. I gave him a look. He laughed. "Too soon, huh?" "Let's just say," I replied, "I'm not looking to rebuild what I just escaped from." "Fair," he said, sipping his coffee. "But for what it's worth, you seem like a man who's found his footing again." I nodded. I stopped fighting shadows, started chasing light. Back at home, I made a small change in the guest room. Turned it into an office. Not for work, for writing, sketching. Ideas that had nothing to do with business. I printed a photo of the house from the day we bought it. Hung it on the wall. Not as a reminder of Sierra, but as a reminder of what I saved. Then came the envelope. Hand-delivered. No return address. Inside, a formal notice from Sierra's new lawyer. A request for mediation and post-divorce financial review. I read it twice, then a third time. Buried in the legal jargon was a veiled message. She wanted another bite. I called Mark DeWitt. He read the letter in silence, then looked up. "She's testing the boundary. Hoping you're still tired enough to negotiate." Should I respond? "We'll respond," he said, and firmly. That afternoon, I sat down and wrote a personal reply. Not for Sierra, for myself. "You broke something we built. Not just the house, not just the trust, but the sense that we were ever working toward the same horizon. And still, I didn't destroy you. I let you walk away with dignity. Don't mistake that for weakness. I never sent it. I didn't need to." The next day, Mark's legal response made things crystal clear. The divorce was settled. The trust was legally binding. Any further action would be viewed as harassment. 3 days later, her attorney withdrew the request. That weekend, Clara came to visit. We hadn't seen each other since the settlement. She brought her sketchbook and a bottle of red wine. We sat on the deck watching the waves roll in. "It feels different here," she said softly. "Like the house is breathing again." "Maybe it is," I replied. She turned to me. "I'm proud of you, Uncle Nate. Most people would have burned everything down. You just rebuilt." I nodded slowly. Some fights aren't worth winning, but some homes are worth defending. That night, I walked the shoreline alone. High tide, the moon bright. I thought of Sierra not with bitterness, but with detachment. She'd become someone I used to know. Someone who mistook ambition for betrayal, desire for entitlement, control for power. But none of that mattered anymore, because I wasn't hers to hurt. Not anymore. I got free. It's been just over 6 months since I signed the final papers. No more threats, no backdoor deals, no emotional blackmail wrapped in lawyers' letters. The house is mine. The quiet is real. And for the first time in years, I wake up without waiting for the next hit. I don't dream about Sierra anymore. I don't wonder what she's doing. I don't care if she's happy or not, because I've learned something. Peace doesn't come when they apologize. It comes when you stop needing them to. The Tybee Island house has changed. I stripped away every last detail of her design. The throw pillows, the metallic accents, the art that never meant anything to either of us. Replaced it all with earth tones, soft blues, and driftwood shelves. Functional, simple, honest. Every change was intentional. Every nail, every screw a declaration. This is mine. Now, entirely. One Saturday morning, I stepped outside and noticed something. The path from the porch to the sand. It had worn down in a perfect line. A trail formed not by design but by repetition. I'd walked it so many times. Alone, quiet processing. I stood there and smiled. Even footsteps leave a legacy. The commercial building in Savannah, fully leased. Low maintenance. Steady income. Nothing dramatic, just solid, like I needed. Tina had called last week to say another opportunity might be coming up, a lakeside duplex in a growing suburb. You thinking of diversifying? She asked. I'm thinking of staying grounded, I said. Same thing, really. We laughed, and for once it felt easy. One afternoon I received a handwritten letter from Logan Pierce. I stared at the envelope for a minute before opening it. It read, Nathan, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want to say you were right. About everything. Sierra burned it all down after she couldn't get what she wanted. The studio failed. She blamed me. I left. I never should have believed her. I hope you're well, Logan. I folded the letter, didn't throw it away, didn't reply. Some things don't need closure. They just need distance. That night I found myself journaling again. I wrote. She left for what she thought was freedom. But I stayed, and built the kind that lasts. One weekend in mid-May, Clara visited again. She brought a friend this time, a woman named Elise. Early 40s. Quiet voice. Worked as a marine biologist for a conservation nonprofit. We shared dinner, talked about books. She told me about the sea turtles nesting further down the beach. We stayed on the deck late into the evening, sipping wine under the stars. There was no spark, no rush, just presence. The kind that says, maybe healing doesn't need to be loud, maybe it just needs to be shared. A few days later, I got a text from Elise. Thanks for the dinner. And the silence. I smiled. You're welcome. The silence is the best part. And I meant it. In July, a journalist from a small publication called to interview me. Not about the divorce, not about Sierra, but about real estate trust strategy and post-divorce financial preservation. Your name's been coming up a lot lately, he said. People say you handled a bad situation with precision and grace. I agreed to the interview, not to gloat, but because if someone else is standing where I once stood, I want them to know. You can protect what's yours without becoming what they are. Later that month, I drove back to the ridge trail I hadn't visited since the beginning. Same boots, same sunrise, different man. I stood there overlooking the water. No weight on my chest, no tightness in my throat. Just air, wide, uninterrupted. I whispered out loud. You didn't take me down, you just reminded me to stand up straighter. The funny thing is, Sierra always said I was too calculated. She hated that I read contracts in full, double-checked signatures, never trusted verbal agreements. But in the end, that habit saved me. The very thing she mocked was the reason she couldn't take everything. Sometimes your flaws are your armor. The Summit House, as I now call it, stands like a monument to recovery. Not revenge, not gloating, just steady ground earned the hard way. I never got a clean apology. Never got the "you were right" from her lips. But I don't need it. Because I have something better. A life that doesn't include begging for respect from someone who never knew what it meant. I still keep the old trust document in my drawer. Not because I need it, but because it's proof. That one signature, one quiet decision can change the outcome of a war you never wanted to fight. And sometimes, win it before it even starts.